right, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Andrew Krause. I'm one of the co-founders here at inventRight, and we have one of my favorite types of YouTube shows, which is an interview with one of our members and their coach. So we have Dennis on, and Dennis, welcome.
Hey guys, glad to be here.
And we have his coach, his inventRight coach, Scott Putnam. Scott, how you doing, man?
Good. So glad to be here. It's good to see you again, Dennis. I'm excited to share your story, and it's been so awesome working with you. So I'm excited to share what you have going on and your journey. And yeah, let's get it done here.
So Dennis, he's done a deal recently. He's got several others in the works too. So we're going to talk about that. But what I wanted to talk about first is the fact that you can license products from anywhere in the world, and Dennis is a perfect example of that. Dennis is from Switzerland, but he's lived in Mexico City. He's lived in, I think, California and then Montana, I think, Dennis, and now he's living in Rio de Janeiro. So if that's not a case that you can do this from anywhere, I don't know what is. Dennis, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Do you like the flexibility of that licensing gives you?
Well, for sure. Matter of factly, this has been my one of my long-term goals for some years to be able to work remotely. Also, yeah, be flexible in that way. Work from anywhere in the world. Use these years to explore and still make a career and be entrepreneurial. So for me, that has there were some challenges. I would say sometimes it's good to have a home base and perhaps your own product lab or just be used to how things are done in one particular country. But for sure, it's possible.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so we can't show your product. I know everybody gets disappointed, but it's not on the market yet. We can't show an inventor's product before the company gets to show it. So, but it is a highlighter. You don't mind mentioning that. It's a multi-use highlighter. Let's say it's a very unique highlighter. So let's talk about getting this deal done. So you had some issues and but you still got this deal done. So can you talk about some of the issues you had? Because I think others are going to have these same issues. I think your issues are very common, and you overcame them. So can you tell people how they can overcome these issues?
Yeah, sure. So, well, this highlighter was actually the first, I would say, product idea I got a little more serious about. And I had this idea many years ago when I did my first inventRight program, and it seemed to be just right, a very simple product. Of course, you had to get the molds and those initial investments, but apart from that, it was, a very good example for, I think, one simple idea that Stephen talks about, very clear benefits. And so I got going at that time
Well, now
with
when you say molds and initial investors, you mean the company has would have to invest in those molds.
exactly, which for me means that, they actually want to think about it. They'll have to make a business case out of it. So because they might be risk averse as well.
Sure.
Yeah, and I got going at that time with Ryan, like another InventRight coach, and I I remember going to this trade show in Frankfurt, and it's one of the bigger shows in that office stationery field. And I was all, like excited for going to one of these trade shows privately, right? And the walking the aisle. Did you call it
Yeah,
that?
just walking the
Right?
show. You didn't get a booth. You walked the show to look
Exactly.
for potential licensees, manufacturers, I suppose.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And I remember, taking my courage and walking up to these booths, and it wasn't always easy, especially in the beginning, right? Um, and then I got to talk to people and realized, okay, people are actually, they are serious about this. They think it's a good product. Some are not interested, some are a little more, but general, like they take you serious
Hmm.
um, as an inventor. So I remember walking up to this other uh, booth, and and then showing the asking, of course, like how things were going, and if they were open to look at an idea I developed. And I remember the face of the guy, looking at my flyer, which I had on the iPad, and he took a second, and he looked at me and he was like, "Hey, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Let's talk about it." And so we talked about it after a show as well. But
And
like
there you
one
go,
month,
done deal, right? That was it.
I was,
No,
yeah,
no,
exactly. That's
no.
that's
Come on,
I was
man.
like,
I'm just kidding.
I was already in the Bahamas zipping cocktails. No,
On
yeah,
your
but
yacht. Yeah.
well, and that's maybe not a reality, right? One month after they didn't get back to me anymore. I was having trouble to get a hold of them, and I think it took me a few weeks even to get the guy on the phone, and his answer was very brief. He said, "Okay, it's too expensive," and at that point I was like, "Okay, this is a serious guy. He's a professional,
Hmm.
one of the a few hundred probably most knowledgeable about these kind of products," and he said it's too
Sure.
expensive. So dang it, it might have been a good idea, but I'm probably off with this one. I'll probably have to move on.
That's what you were thinking at the time.
That's what I was thinking, and um, because a professional told me, hey, it's too expensive, so he saw the benefit. He knew it was, it's possible to do it. Um,
Hmm.
then all the feasibility aspects. We talked about protection, which that there was we considered good chances for it to be protected, and then he was like, yeah, well, it's too expensive, and I tried to figure out, but I think at that time I didn't really understand exactly what he was meaning, and what he meant was the initial investment in mold costs, it's relatively high
Oh,
with respect to a low selling price and a very high volume needed for such a highlighter product, which I think was for him too big of a risk, right?
hmm.
So,
But so I was thinking maybe he was thinking it was too expensive per unit, that the cost would be too high and customers wouldn't pay it. But you just came up with a different kind of too expensive. The
mhm,
investment was too expensive. Maybe he's concerned the volume wouldn't be there. Um,
mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
okay. But this is one guy's opinion. So,
right.
but I think it's valid. He's in the industry. He knows things well. I mean, that's important. But it's still one person's opinion. You didn't have five people tell you that. So what did you do with it? Did you dump it, move on to something else, or did you keep going? What did you do with it at that point?
Well, of course, I reached out to more companies, and I think I had a list of about 40 to 45 companies. And, um, I think this feedback is probably very common. Like, for one, hey, right now is not the right time, or
Hmm.
yeah, we're not open to ideas, which is very valid. They have concerns, or they just have preferences of working with their design team. And then there were a few also who were not very clear. He said also, yeah, kind of too expensive, and so for me, that was, I thought uh, that was my problem.
Hmm.
I designed the product which was not financially feasible, because actually, to get back to your point, yeah, in the beginning I also thought it's actually a multicolor highlighter, and I was thinking for that reason it would be a substitute to a whole pack of highlighters,
Oh,
and therefore we could charge a higher price. But yeah, like these guys, they were more having the opinion that, okay, it can maybe be a little more expensive than a single one, but for sure not, as expensive like a whole
sure.
set.
Yeah.
So
So you got
yeah,
you got some feedback too expensive for more than one. One gave you some specifics, the others it was more kind of general,
right,
too
right,
expensive.
right.
Okay,
And,
and then
and
where'd you go from there?
Mm. Well, actually, after that, I started a very challenging, I think, new job in medical technology startup, and I took over the part of the management there, and I didn't have the energy to be entrepreneurial or like be very creative apart from that. So I didn't do much until a few years later. I felt so comfortable in that in that job. I started to think about licensing inventRight again, because I forgot to say when I started uh, with the inventRight system, I was like just putting in my head, okay, I'm gonna make this happen. I will, be one of these people that license an idea. I'm gonna turn it reality, no matter how long it takes, or and so then I put it on hold. But as I had some more spare time and some more creativity, I was thinking of new ideas, and I also reflected back on the highlighter, and I just had this feeling that there must be a place for it. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure it's not a $100 million idea. It's maybe not even $1 million idea. It might be, I don't know, but it's for sure one simple idea. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna extend my hit list of companies, and before that, I'm gonna do some tweaks, make it simpler, like with the hopes of making it less expensive as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to more companies, and what happened was I got more interest. Oh, this is a cool product. I could see that as part of our product line, especially in promotional companies, because
Mm.
there's a lot of
Sure.
space for logos, and it's a typical promo article, because you use it various times throughout the day. It lays on your desk. The logo is
Sure.
visible all throughout the day, and it's an innovative product, something different. Um,
You
and
did.
and
You did what I tell students to do. I don't know if Ryan or Scott told you to do it, but when you don't license a product, most inventors think they're done. But
Mhm.
you could pick it up 6, 8, 10, 12 months later, in your case, even longer than that, and send it all out to all the same people. Maybe you make some tweaks like you did, and I get members that license products all the time that way.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not that much harder. Now you needed to make some changes; those might have been hard to figure out, but you believed in it, you know?
And
Yeah.
not only myself, also, because that at that point I was actually, getting back in contact with inventRight, and starting my second coaching round of coaching with Scott, and he
Mm.
looked at the product. Scott, I'm not sure if you remember, but I think you
Yeah.
said something. Hey, that's a simple product. It's made from plastic. Not too high of a material cost, and yeah, well, what you have to do is, get more feedback, reach out to more companies.
Yeah, you did a great job with that. I know when you came in, you had a lot going on, and we talked about mindset, and we talked a lot about focus. And for you, it was a little challenging for me as the coach too, because it's like, okay, I'm working on this, but I got this other thing, and then I got this other thing, and it's like, all right, we got to zero in on one product at a time. And you had great feedback on the product from more than one company, which told me that you have something here. Maybe we need to
Mm.
tweak the design and things like that. But yeah, you did a great job with your mindset as an inventor, your determination, and really wanting to make something happen, but really smart about looking at it objectively. You didn't see your product as like this little baby that you're like, oh, no matter, this better be successful. Everybody must love this. You were using data. Okay,
Mm.
I have X number of companies that said this is great. Cost was a factor. We talked about how do we redesign it and lower the cost. So that was awesome.
What are you saying, Scott? Be logical and try not to be emotional and deal with data and facts. Come on, man.
I know. Are we robots here? What are we talking
Yeah,
about?
what are you talking
It's
about?
it's hard because it's our we birthed the idea, right? It came out of us. I mean,
Yeah.
all of us are like that. But I think for people that can really zoom out and look at it kind of objectively, keeping the excitement of it, but really saying, okay, I got 5 companies that said this is a good idea. It's probably a really good idea. Let's keep exploring. And so,
Right.
So
yeah, it was,
let's continue on with the story. Okay, so
yeah.
you worked on this years ago. You came back to it. You got a intense tech job or a startup kind of. You came back to it and you started reaching out again. Scott's helping you out. And what happened?
Yeah, well, I got the same feedback. We like it, we want to talk, and we yeah, let's hop on a call and even have some prototypes done with one company, and then it was just these answers where you don't know actually is this really what they mean, or is this a
Hmm.
way to just, I don't know, be polite. They were saying, okay, no, right now the market is down,
Hmm.
stocks are full, inventories are full.
Kind of like
We
kind of
kind
like
of
sometimes you're like, is that just a BS answer? Because if they really wanted the product, they wouldn't be telling me this. Did you feel like that sometimes? Yeah.
for sure, and
Yeah.
it's you know it's interesting because I would expect this kind of answer, or such an answer from friends, I guess, because they know me, they want to be nice and and perhaps supportive, um, but these are professional, right? Like it's good that they're still being nice and polite, but I love, sometimes I just long, please
Hmm.
tell me directly
Right.
what is up. But
They're not doing you any favors when they try to sugarcoat it a little bit, which they're people think that all these companies are brutal or whatever, and they're all going to steal your idea or whatever. But they're people. They're not, and they might sugarcoat it a little bit because they don't want to hurt your feelings or something. It depends on the person, but and you need to pull it out of them. So how did you? So okay, you're getting some of the same feedback, but you reach back out. How do we get to a licensing deal? How did that happen?
right. So uh, basically, I was at a second like point of really having a hard time motivating, like being objective, and uh, Scott says, like I was having a hard time being just objective and doing what needed to be done, like extend
Hmm.
my list, collect more feedback, and perhaps tweak here or there, because excitement is also, and motivation, it's also part of the equation, right? But then I just had this intuition. It's like, okay, all these people try to tell me it's cool, they like it. Also, by the way, distributors, they always were like, people were like, okay, we don't want to produce it, but send us samples, like we want to sell that, but
Hmm.
we don't want to spend 30, 40, 50K in mold cost and take the risk, right? So then I ended up with this pretty big list of companies, and I think I did quite a good job, taking notes, staying organized, and I had a few companies where I talked about manufacturing with them, and many companies who said, okay, we want to, we would like to sell it, like send us samples and send us pricing. So then I was like, okay, I have this validation because this list of companies and marketing managers or CEOs or salespeople in these companies, they're professionals, right? They know what they're talking about. So what we all also did in that way was a kind of market test, right? Like getting objective feedback from professionals, like an extended focus group, maybe,
Right.
or yeah, like a series of interviews. And then I was like, okay, so many people want to sell it, but not many want to produce it. What is the problem here? And I got back to this, mold cost thing. So I was like, okay, how about I wrote an email to 3 of the companies, and I told them, okay, hey, what's up, how's everything going, any new hit products, just catching up. And then I told them, hey, are you still open to talk about this highlighter? Because I want to make a suggestion. And I was very clear. I told them I have really a lot of positive feedback, but it's not being produced yet. So I'm willing to, talk about contributing to the mold costing and helping to sell. And because I have this whole list of potential distributors. I met some of these people sometimes twice during, the same trade show happening year after year, right? And then one company got back to me right away, and they say, okay, hey, we love the product. That's never been the issue. You seem really convinced about it, and as well. So let's do it, And actually, I did pay a few $1,000s in mold costs, which I know is not your primary recommendation, but for me, so for me, it was important that they pay the biggest part of the mold cost, and then they're going to give me, I think, what you would consider a high royalty of 10%.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge. That's
to pay
great.
it back.
Yeah.
And the support in sales is, it's mutual interest. I already have done a lot of preparation, and since they're an American company, they're actually happy for me to go to European trade shows, and so yeah, they're very excited.
Normally, I would think that it's really a big red flag. You got this fair-sized company that has a lot of money, and they didn't ask you, but if a company asks you, like, you got to pay for part of the mold, that's the giant red flag normally. But like I was talking about earlier, they're people just like you and me. And when they saw you wanted, even if it was just a couple $1,000s to have skin in the game, that was enough to throw them over the edge going, okay, let's do it.
Right.
Which is amazing. So there's always exceptions. And you're very persistent, and you just reached out, and you also were showing demand. It sounded like you're trying to get to a manufacturer, but you talk to distributors. They're like, we want it, and I'm assuming you were telling them that. So you told them that, and you just said, hey, I'll pay a couple $1,000s or however the conversation went to help out with
Mhm.
the mold. They're like, it just threw them over the edge. It sounds like. I think that's fantastic, very unique. Normally, I would say they're like, "Oh, mold's $50,000. We need to pay 25,000 of it." I'd be like, that's
Nah.
there's something wrong there. This is a big company for them. If they believe in the product, they should be willing to
Yeah.
invest that kind of money. But they're people, just like you and
Yeah.
me. But I think the big thing you did, quite frankly, was not that. I think it was showing demand. You talked to distributors. You said all these distributors are telling me they want it. Been going to trade shows year after year. They said they want it. They want it. That was probably the bigger thing that did it.
That
You're probably
pull-through
right.
marketing was huge, and I know we talked a lot about that and kind of how to do that and get that done. But as the coach, I was like, whoa, wait, you want to offer to pay for the molds? That's not normally how we do it. But it sounds like that was just the one little straw, like the tipping point that made them say, we like this guy, we love the product, got all the demand, he's done everything, he's got prototypes, let's just do it. So
Right.
that's awesome.
And also one thing was like prototyping for certain products. I think it, right now I created a new game which I'm very excited about, and also showing it to as seen on TV companies, and they one of them is very excited, and some toy companies or game companies, and with the highlighter it was a little similar. It was very easy to make proof concept prototype, so show it works, but to have, in that case, a game for kids to play and to authentically test the gameplay experience, I would have to almost do, a professional prototype, which Some of the parts can be 3D printed, but some of them they have to be injection molded, and then it's automatically a lot of money involved. And with the highlighter, I did the same. I Frankenstein products. I did some 3D printing, very simple ones. I took apart traditional highlighters, put them into 3D printed parts. But then because all of these companies were asking, can you send me samples? Can you send me samples? I didn't feel like sending them these distributors, taped Frankenstein prototypes. So then I looked for companies that could potentially do like a mini series of samples and high quality prototypes. And I realized, okay, that's a lot of money involved. I think one of them quoted 14K. And at that point, I'm like, okay, why not invest a fraction of that into a collaboration with a company that's already motivated? And that whole thing seemed very organic to me. And so, yeah, and now let's see how the sales roll in.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
So Scott, he did his first deal. Well, I think this is a perfect case of once an inventor, always an inventor. You were with our coach Ryan. You took a break. You got a new job, which was really intense. You got used to the job. You came back to it because it's part of who you are. You didn't decide one day I'm going to be an inventor. It just happened to you probably. I mean, 99% of the inventors I talk to, that's the case. And you came back to it and you did it. So I mean, if anybody out there has worked on a product and then they put it aside, they haven't been doing anything in a while, I think your story is very inspirational. That they come back. You can do this from anywhere in the world. It's okay if you dumped it for a while. You can always come back to it because if you're truly an inventor and you have the passion, you have the determination, and then of course you had Scott making sure you do and say all the right things. I'm sure at times, yeah. No, we don't. All our coaches shake their fingers at their students like this.
You better do that, Dennis. Get it done. No, you were very motivated. For me, it was more like, man, this guy's got so much energy and passion. How do I corral some of this and focus it? Because it's like, just very.
But now,
very
Scott, you were trying to get him to focus on one product, but now he's at a point he could work on 2, 3, 4, 5 products at once, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is rinse and repeat. You know the model, and you're doing all the right things, and really asking for feedback and listening to the companies is so huge, and you do such a great job at that. I know you would send me really long emails, very detailed about all of the communications, and it was great. So I really knew that, okay, you're going to be successful. It's just a matter of time. And
what do you, Scott? You think it was the persistence? Is persistence?
I think it was definitely, that was a big part of it. I think it was the way he handles himself, his communication through emails. I know he forwarded a lot of emails and responses and things. Your communication in email, and I'm assuming on the phone, is fantastic. You see things really clearly. You're able to look at things through their perspective, their point of view. Not everybody can do that. It's all about me. But if we can kind of climb into the shoes of the people we're talking to and see it from their perspective, that's huge. And I think you have a really good ability to do that.
At the same time, he saw it from their perspective, but then he adjusted to give them what they needed, which is kind of like proof of interest with the distributors. They apparently, this company, a little skin in the game. Hey, I'm willing to put a couple grand in, which isn't normal, but he did what he needed to,
Chipped away at the risk. It's all about the risk. So you slowly kind of mitigated the risk really well. I mean, well done, doing that. Not everybody can do that either, or even thinks about, well, what are the risks and what's the hesitation? Let's dissect that a little bit and address those concerns.
Well, Dennis, I know down there in Rio, it's what is it, 2:40, 2:45, almost 3 o'clock, and
Correct.
so probably everybody's on the beach. I know you want to get to the beach and hang out down. It's right down. It's right there. Oh man, I'm jealous.
I know. I think about your travels, and it's like when I grow up, I want to be Dennis,
Yeah,
traveling all over, hanging out on the beach.
definitely not only easy, but I think now I found a way of um, managing like different steps it takes to license ideas. Prototyping I mostly do in Switzerland. I know where to get what I need, and I know that how people work there, if they're supporting me in creating these prototypes or whatever is needed. And here I can work on the computer, right? Sell, pitch, gather feedback, redesign, work with some freelancers. Yeah, the
Yeah,
exactly.
you've assembled your team, right? You figured out what do I need, and then you put those pieces into place, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, you're
Dennis,
creating the machine, so it's good.
thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience. It really means a lot to people that haven't licensed yet and they're working on it. I mean, it's one thing for Scott or Steven or myself to talk about licensing and the steps, but to hear a story and that you brought a product to market and got several other deals on the table, it's really great that you took your time to share that. And thank you, Scott, as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Well, I want to say thank you first, also to Scott, my coach, and I want to highlight again what you said earlier in the call, like the importance of being objective, collect feedback. I think for me that was probably the one of the most important learning experiences out there, and also the true value of this endeavor, to to be critical, to observe. And
Mm.
I know Andrew said, like, yeah, we want to be excited and everything, and there's totally a place for that, but I think there's also beauty in observing, being critical, asking the right questions, and because that will allow us to solve problems for for the people we're working with. And yeah, and what you said, Andrew, like, also thank you so much for creating this program. It's fantastic. And I think it's, for me, it's so fantastic because it enables us, and in that case me, to be a creator. So have an idea, have a thought at first, and think more about it, then put it on paper, and suddenly you hold it in your hands. This is, for me, the most fun thing to do out there by far. And I think it's also such a valuable experience, or at least it has been for me, to become a creator. So thank you guys for that.
You're well. Thank you, Dennis. Very well said. Incredibly well said. When
Bringing a
when
tear to my
when a
eye.
when a member talks like that, Scott, I know he's going to license more products. He's got the right attitude.
Oh, for
Definitely.
sure, for sure. Yeah, attitude, experience, all of it. Yeah, you got an extremely bright future in inventing and product development. So I'm excited to see your next licensing deal and what other country you're going to be living in next.
Yeah.
Good, good question. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Scott. Remind everybody to take care, keep inventing, and we'll catch up with you guys next time. See ya. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.